Yeah, we're on.
Okay, there we go.
There we go.
Just a delay. Welcome to the December 26th, 2017 meeting of the Pequannock Township Council. Ms. Marsh?
In accordance with the requirements of New Jersey's Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting was included in the annual meeting notice, which was filed in the office of the Township Clerk, posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, published as a legal notice in the Suburban Trends newspaper, and distributed to all persons requesting notice in accordance with Township policy. 48-hour notice of the change in time of this meeting was also transmitted via fax or email to the Suburban Trends, Daily Record, and the Record newspapers, posted on the website and on the bulletin board of the municipal building.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a prayer and a moment of thanks for individuals serving our nation. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Most gracious Providence, we ask that you bless this governing body with an abundance of wisdom and understanding, so that every deliberation will result in actions which will promote the common good and the general welfare for all the people of Pequannock Township. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Okay, if the clerk could please do roll call.
Mr. Hurd?
Here.
Mr. Cole?
Here.
Mr. Phelan is excused. Ms. Winterfield?
Here.
Mayor Florence Lynch?
Here. Okay. First on the agenda is presentation, and we're going to swear in our new officer, Benjamin Cole. So for the police department appointment, Chief Spring, did you want to come up and say a few words as well before we do? I'm going to ask Dave Cole to come up and for the swearing in part, since it's your son, and I'm going to ask Chief Spring to say a few words. And we're going to call him up now?
Sure.
You want your parents to come up, family?
Gentlemen of the Bible.
Do you want to speak first?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the council for having us here. As you can tell, Ben grew up in town. It's not too hard to see that. I know you are. And we've been very proud of our selection process over the last, I've lost count of years now. But we keep a very strict process. It's very competitive, and only the cream rises to the top, and Ben was it, and we're very happy to have him here. Again, he grew up in town, and there's a great tradition here, and it's very nice to have him here, and I think he'll be a great addition to our department.
Who's going to hold the Bible? Okay. You're going to, you can stand right there. Your hand on the Bible, raise your right hand, and repeat after me. I, Benjamin David Cole.
I, Benjamin David Cole.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of New Jersey.
And the Constitution of the State of New Jersey.
And that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
And that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
And to the governments established in the United States.
And to the governments established in the United States.
And in the state.
And in this state.
Under the authority of the people.
Under the authority of the people.
And that I will faithfully.
And I will faithfully.
Impartially.
Impartially.
And justly perform.
And justly perform.
All the duties of Pequannock Township Police Officer.
All the duties of Pequannock Township Police Officer.
According to the best of my ability.
According to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Great. Congratulations. We are so happy to have you join our police department. We know you're going to be a great asset to the department. Okay, great. Please do. And before you go anywhere, Ben, I'm going to ask you to...
Oh, just don't let her in.
You want to do that first?
Sure.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you to sign 2 of these. Okay.
I thought this might be a good moment to highlight an incident that happened here a couple of weeks ago. And by doing that, I'm going to read a letter from Tom Lyons from the First Aid. Chief Spring, on Saturday, December 9th at 1200 hours, the First Aid Squad was dispatched to your department, with your department, to the CVS parking lot at 156 Newark Compton Turnpike for an unconscious fall victim. Upon arrival, a 59-year-old male patient was found unconscious and without a pulse. With the immediate implementation of CPR, 2 successful automatic external defibrillator shocks and advanced life support provided by Atlantic Healthcare paramedics from Unit 901, we were able to deliver the patient to Chilton Medical Center at 1226 hours with his heart beating. I would like to commend the actions and professionalism of the following members of the Pequannock Police Department who were on scene and assisted in the successful resuscitation of this patient. Our officers that day on the scene were Sergeant Robert Brown, Patrolman Robert McClory, Patrolman Jack Lyon, Patrolman Christopher Nelson, Patrolman Matthew Halligan, and Patrolman Sean Higgins. I've been at this a long time now, and after growing up in this town, it still amazes me the work that these people do in this police department. And I think it's nice to highlight once in a while what happens, because there is so much that goes on in this town that this police department is involved with and people don't know about. I think that every once in a while it's nice to acknowledge the great work that these people do, and I couldn't be any luckier to have a group like this and our government, our governing body who's still been very so supportive. So again, thank you, and to my people, great job once again.
Don't go too far. I'm going to ask Ben to come back up because Rotary has a presentation, I Yes. If you want to say a few words.
rehearsal for this, so. That's how Anyway, I have a check here, a copy of the check. We usually have a big check, but that person didn't arrive. But anyway, so this is the check we issued already for Ben's vest. And in total, because we distribute to other towns too, we've given a total of 19 years of $68,000 for the vest. That's really cool. So I've known Ben a while now. Congratulations. Good choice.
Nice shot.
Sure. Are they here? She wants to do the New Jersey.
Out of order.
All right, so where is that one? Okay, before anybody goes too far, we're going to change the agenda around a little bit, and we're going to do the presentation for New Jersey Cares presentation. Who's going to do the presentation for that? It's the Center It's a presentation that, is Chief Spring doing it with you? Or-
I spoke enough today.
Oh, okay. It's the Center for Addiction Recovery, Education, and Success is CARES, and Pequannock Outreach Center.
Yeah. As the police department, we're very involved in the community. About 2015, we realized we had a drug problem, a real drug problem going on in town. We ended up doing a drug investigation, and we were able to seize a cell phone. On that cell phone, we had 25 of our teens and young adults that were buying drugs from drug dealers. So we realized we had a problem then. As everybody knows, we have an opiate addiction, almost a crisis here in northern New Jersey and the rest of the country. 2016, we had 4 fatal overdoses here in Pequannock, which is unheard of. We ended up, Steve Steady, Detective Steve Steady and I ended up sitting on the Morris County Opiate Task Force, where we got some great ideas, and everybody sits on it, and we ended up hooking up with CARES and with Walton Robinson. And CARES runs an outreach center in Rockaway that is a one-stop shopping for people with addiction and families with addiction. Problem is, they're all the way over in Rockaway. So we said, what if we were able to put something over here in Pequannock? So we've been working on it for the past year. We went to our PBA first, our police union, and said, it's something you guys would be interested in supporting. And our union fully is invested in it and interested in supporting it, and they'll be making a donation today also. We realized that a lot of our, as police officers, our family and friends are suffering from this addiction also. Take it very personally, Teddy and I, we both have very close relatives of ours that are in recovery right now for heroin addiction, so we know what it's like. We then went to our Municipal Alliance Committee, who was able to donate some money for our project, and we ended up with the Community Partners for Hope, which donated more money to our project, and finally got us over the hump to where we need to be. So we're going to be opening a center across the street at the First Reformed Church. We're going to be there on Tuesday mornings from 9 until 1, and on Thursdays from 5 until 9. And I'm going to let Walton Robinson explain real quick about what we do, or what he's doing over at CARES, and how it can benefit our community.
When we say real quick, it's going to be really, really quick, right? But when you think about where we are in this opioid epidemic, and I work closely with Sarah Jane and Karen as well, it doesn't discriminate. Town, race, religion, sexual origin, doesn't matter, right? Everyone's affected by it. So we have this thing going on in Rockaway where we kind of brought community together, right? We brought law enforcement in with treatment centers, with clergy, with community. Because it takes all of those entities to help one individual get over the hump where they need to be. So we started working with Pequannock, because you guys are very proactive in Pequannock with everything that you do, right? So we started working with Fairburger, and we said, well, why not bring this home to Pequannock to help those individuals? But it's kind of twofold, right? One, to help the individual that's suffering, whether it's treatment or recovery support services, things like housing, education, because we can get a person clean, but how do they sustain that, right? And I think that's been the biggest issue when you start talking about how we're going to be able to eradicate or even make a dent in this opioid epidemic. It really comes down to recovery support services. We can get them clean. How do we keep them? And the second part that I think a lot of people kind of forget is those family members that was along for this journey with that individual, whether voluntarily or involuntarily. So we want to focus heavily when it comes to the community on the family process, right? Helping those individuals within the family. So I think those are the two folks that we're going to really work with here in Pequannock, helping that individual, but also helping those family members that's dealing with this opiate epidemic right alongside the individual. But also we're going to do things like Narcan training. You guys are familiar with Narcan. So we train in 7 counties throughout the state, and Morris County, of course, is one of those counties. So we want to kind of launch our program with a family or a community Narcan training there. So we'll train all the individuals, as well as give out Narcan kits. But more importantly, give you information on how to effectively respond to opioid overdose. So it gives us at CARES New Jersey very pleasure to be here in the township of Pequannock County, launching this satellite recovery center at First Reformed Church. And you guys have been so gracious every time I meet with you. They come to our community breakfast, and I'm inviting all of you all to come to our community breakfast. You can ever get here as well. It's on January 22nd, 10 a.m. Facility in Rockaway. But we are so pleased to be here, to be just a part, a small part of this big crisis that's going on. So we can hopefully here at Pequannock, make a dent in helping families, but also those in the midst of this substance.
We'd like to do a big presentation from all of our benefactors, the Pequannock PBA, the Community Partners for Hope, and the Municipal Alliance. Presentation of the checks to Bolton. Get a photo. By Sergeant Lane. Here's some gift.
He's taking a picture. I don't think he cares about that. He just cares about doing it.
Thank you very much. We'll be doing our quick.
One quick thing, I just noticed Sheriff Gannon in the back of the room. Sheriff Gannon, I know, thank you for being here, and Merry Christmas, everyone, and have a happy and healthy New Year. I didn't know if you wanted to say a few words before everybody left. I did. All right. I know you've been very involved. Thank you. Just keep doing the good work. Okay. My name is Sam. Now that they all leave.
Oh, thanks for coming.
Hey, thanks for coming.
Oh, really? Congratulations.
Did you get pictures? Do you want to go?
They got some pictures. I don't think I got pictures.
Somebody out there got pictures.
Yeah, a couple of them. Several of them.
I hope you got I hope you got Yeah. I left a couple. And then they'll say, what were they saying? Little captions over our heads.
See you, buddy. Thank you.
Hi.
How you doing?
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Hey, you gonna stay on?
Yes. Merry Christmas. Who are you? I'm Mike. How are you? He is. Still working. Okay. Let me know. You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. All right. Nice to see you.
Hi, Sheriff. Sorry, I didn't see you in the back there.
Oh boy.
Uh-oh. Happy New Year.
Come out of here.
Hey, Sheriff. How you doing? Real good.
Hey, Chris. How are you doing?
Hi. Happy New Year to you.
Thank you, buddy.
I'm good. How are you? Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
We do for one. All right, folks, we are having another meeting. You know what? I was just texting you.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you.
He makes a good looking cop. In his uniform.
You're also Paul. You walk downstairs.
Yeah.
He's going to try to bring it in.
Oh, it's great. You guys are awesome.
Everybody's on? You're welcome. All right, so what are we doing now? Now we're going back to...
Number 6, the resolutions.
I barely had time to read this. I was going to ask you, I hope I'm not putting you on the spot, but I was going to ask. Do you care if I ask you, just for the audience's sake, to explain the appropriations?
Righty.
How they get switched from one to the other, or is that no big deal? I mean,
No, you can.
Yeah, all right.
Just the
Right.
into your cleanup.
And that's all it is.
All right, Mrs. Mayor. What do you say?
Are we ready to move along?
Yes.
All right. All right, next on the agenda is resolutions for approval. And we're going to take the agenda out of order a little bit this evening. We're going to do all our public comment at the end of the meeting, but it's not a long agenda, so we'll do that later. So, Ms. Marsh, can you go through the resolutions, please, by number?
Beginning with Resolution R 2017-216, authorizing tax office refunds, overpayments, or cancellations. 2017-217, authorizing payment in the amount of $2,508 to William Dunlap for accumulated leave. 2017-218, authorizing the discharge of an affordable housing program mortgage. 2017-219, canceling end-of-year balances. 2017-220, authorizing the transfer of 2017 municipal budget appropriations, and R 2017-221, approving payment of the itemized claims as set forth on the December 21st, 2017 bill list.
Okay. Are there any comments on the resolutions from any council members?
Nope.
No?
I have one question.
Okay.
On the bill list, the one for the irrigation system for Washington Park improvements, is that on the new field, or is that one of the older fields?
No, it's Newfield.
New field, okay.
And
That's it.
I had a question on the bill list, the leak detection.
Yeah, that's a new requirement by DEP that all towns have to go through a process to try and determine if our system is leaking water. We are pretty confident that we're not, because we have to report the amount of water that we measure, how much we take into the system, and how much we bill out, and there's very little variance. So we don't believe we do have a leak problem, but we do have a final report from these guys. They go through with some pretty sophisticated actually listening equipment that they tie to valves and hydrants.
Okay.
They did find a couple small leaks which have been repaired. We're going to have to do this every probably 3 years now.
Okay. Other
And
than
that was
I'm
it?
good. Yeah.
All right, and most of these resolutions are just cleanup for the end of the year, but I did want to ask the manager just to explain the resolution number 2017-220, why we might have to do those appropriations from, like, there's one on dial-a-ride and one on recreation, and it gets moved to the operating
Right. Well,
expense, so I just figured.
after council adopts the budget is broken down into departments, and each department has a salary and wage account and other expense account. And you can only spend money within those categories and appropriations. The last 2 months of the year, we're allowed to transfer money from one appropriation to another by legal line item, from S&W to OE. And we do that, we've done a couple of them already this year, based on how expenses, have ended up and where we might have some money available. We did one a month ago to correct the clock, fix the clock down to point. Here, we're just setting up for some end-of-year reserves.
Thank you. A couple of people had asked me about that, so. Okay. If there's no other comments, is there a motion to adopt these resolutions, please?
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 2017-2016 through 2021.
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Winterfield?
Yes.
Mayor Florence Lynch?
Here. All right, next on the agenda is items for discussion. So we have two. We have the 2018 Pequannock Township Council meeting schedule that's set for next year, and the budget calendar, correct?
Correct.
I have one question. Carol, on the last one, on 8 there, It's not the Suburban Times. Is there even a paper?
Oh,
That's big.
that's been there for probably 25 years. But I will fix it for January 2nd.
Thank you. I thought that was interesting.
Never noticed that.
So everyone seemed to be fine with the calendar. Anything changed there, just that November 7th and December 26th?
Is it coordinated with the league?
It's coordinated with the league, Election Day, and Thanksgiving. It's actually a very difficult month to have 2 meetings in.
Okay.
But that seemed like the most logical day to me.
Everybody's okay with it?
Fine with it.
See, I mean, we're not,
I'm good.
it's just discussion.
I just want you to know the clerk's going to be really tired that day. And then the
budget calendar.
Wait, I'm sorry, one more thing.
Oh, yes.
The council meeting is again going to be the day after Christmas.
Yes.
Do you want to move it now to 1 p.m.?
Well, I think the only reason we did that was because of other...
I probably won't be here next year because we flip-flop between New Jersey and Boston.
So you'll probably be out of town anyway.
I'll probably be out of town.
Okay.
It's fine with me, either way, whatever you guys want to do.
Yeah, it's okay with me, 1 o'clock.
It works better because I'm always off. Yeah.
1 o'clock.
Yeah, whatever you guys, want to do, it's fine.
That way you
with
don't
me.
have to stay at night, you guys.
Yeah, if most people are off.
Make it
sure.
1 o'clock.
There's really very little you can do on an agenda the day after Christmas anyway. Okay.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Okay. And then the...
How many dates do we need to meet for the budget, Dave?
It's right back here.
yeah, we have it here.
Are we meeting all of these dates?
No.
You don't need to.
There's 5 work sessions.
Yeah.
5 work
first one we
sessions.
just
I think I scheduled 5, and if we don't need them all, we'll
Cancel the last one.
cancel them.
Yeah, I don't think you should cancel them yet.
But it's better to have them advertised and not need them than to need one that you don't have advertised.
I'm fine with the first 5.
Now, what about the time? Is the time going to be 6,
Will it be
6:30?
6 or 6:30?
What would you like?
What would you like?
Can you do 6?
Well, 6 is fine. It's just tight, but I can
I'd
do
say
it.
6 o'clock.
Yeah, 6 o'clock.
And then
Yeah, if I'm here 6, come
make
a few
it
minutes
6
late.
o'clock, and if
Make it 6,
it's
yeah.
tight,
Very good.
Okay, great. Thank you.
and we'll get our usual pizza or something.
Or something.
Yeah, my only question, because I just didn't have a chance to just look real quick, I just want to make sure none of the work sessions fall during any of the committees or boards or anything, right? That would be
Oh, that-
an
Oh, they
issue?
very well
Rush.
could.
I didn't check against
right,
the
so-
the calendar.
Don't worry about
That's
it.
why
But
we
it's
meet
no big
at
deal.
6, so...
Yeah, you meet at 6,
Yeah.
it should be done on time,
Yeah.
so shouldn't be a big issue.
We'll work it out.
Okay. All right, we're good there. And then the next, I guess, let me see. Next on the agenda is reports and notices. We had one on the certificate of determination and award. Does anybody have questions on the reports and notices?
No.
Yeah, I guess, Ryan, did you have anything on that? That was the one I was just going to ask the manager again, just to explain
Yeah, if you could just go over real quick.
the certificate of award for the 4.9.
We borrow money periodically using a note, which is a short-term borrowing up to 1 year. So this is just indicating that we have awarded a note that we sold 2 weeks ago, and it's covering the cost, primarily the water project, but also the dock project at PV Park we borrowed against.
Yeah, I guess, so the one was really the water tower,
Yeah, the tank and the water mains.
and the recreation utility was mainly for the,
It's the docks, the
docks.
replacement swim lanes.
okay. All right.
And when do we think the water tower is going to be done?
The tank itself is actually complete. It's just not connected to anything yet. So
It's a beautiful tank, I might say.
It is a very nice tank. The water line will be complete in the spring, probably April, at which point everything will be in service.
Beautiful.
Okay. Next on the agenda is manager's report.
And I have nothing other than what you already discussed.
Okay. Councilman Hurd, do you have a report?
The only thing I have is, I wanted to bring this up last meeting. So, it has to do with Chilton Hospital, and I just want to give a shout out to them. They did great. My one son unfortunately cut himself, and we had to go to the ER, and he had to get some stitches, 6 of them, but he was literally in and out, no kidding, from my house, 45 minutes. They did a great job. Kept him calm. He wasn't in pain, so they really do a good job over there. So, that's all I have.
Good. Deputy Mayor Winterfield?
The only thing I have is a short reminder for January to do the resolution on the LED street lighting. Because I really want to do that. That's it.
All right, and Councilman Cole?
I don't have anything. I'm going to, stay for another 5 minutes, and then I have family and friends that came for the celebration, so I'm going to ask to excuse myself.
Sure. Okay. And the only thing I have, we had a library board meeting, so I'll give you an update on the library edition. As you know, we're having the children's room expanded, and that was done by donation money from Virginia Ford. So the update on the library edition is the sprinkler system was just tested, and that passed the inspection. The contractor was just waiting for one more inspection as of last week. I don't know if that's been done yet. And after that inspection, the work on the roof will be completed, and then the work on the inside, the floors and the walls will be the next focus of the project. It's moving along smoothly. So that's on the library edition. And what else did I have? I don't think anybody else met. The only other thing I wanted to mention for those of you that want to go to the freeholders swearing in, that's on Friday, January 5th. I saw that notice come through. That's at 6 o'clock. And our reorganization meeting is going to be on the 2nd. And that's at also 6. We're doing that. All right. Other than that, I don't have anything. So we can move right along. Reports from volunteers. Are there any members from any of the committees or boards that want to give a report? No? Okay. And next on the agenda is public comments. We're going to try to limit the questions and comments to 3 minutes and try not to go over that 30-minute period. If anyone would like to address the council, please raise your hand, wait to be recognized, and come on up in the back. And just state your name and address for the record, please. We're going to excuse Councilman Cole.
Good morning, Janice Jerry, 17 Foothills Drive. Hope everyone had a very Merry Christmas. I just wanted to address, as you guys know, I've been back and forth on this skate park thing and what skate parks have the designer that we hired done in a flood zone and what haven't they. I got a letter finally back from Mr. Holberg on Friday, and so what I did was I just looked up every single skate park that he gave me as skate parks that have been completed in a flood zone designed by our designer. So the first one is on the 8th page of the proposal, 2 parks listed, design was in the 100-year floodplain. The first is Salisbury, Maryland. I spoke Friday to Amanda Pollock, the Director of Infrastructure and Development for Salisbury, Maryland. She said there's no flood and it's not in a flood zone. So that's not a park in a flood zone, even though we were told it was. The second one is Culpeper, Virginia. Unfortunately, Culpeper, Virginia has not had a municipal building open since I received this information on Friday, and they're not open today. I do see where it's probably partially in a flood zone. I did not speak to a town manager on this, but I do see where it's partially in a flood zone, and I actually have pictures of it underwater. And there's actually a team of kids that are actually won an award. They're trying to redesign it so it doesn't flood the way it's been flooding since it's been built. So that is possibly one that our designer has done in a flood zone, and it does flood regularly. The third one on here is, it says again, the 12th page highlights Salisbury, Maryland. I just gave you Salisbury. Salisbury is not in a flood zone. The 17th page highlights Atlantic Beach Skate Park, which is in a coastal flood zone, my letter says. I spoke to Atlantic Beach, the town planner, Michelle Shreve. She said the actual skate park is not in a flood zone. There was no FEMA considerations at all because there was no flood at all. The next one in the letter that I got from the town manager talks about Bar Harbor, Maine, and that Pilar had said in their design presentation they had designed Bar Harbor, Maine, and that was in a flood zone as well. I spoke to Angela Chamberlain, the code enforcement officer in Bar Harbor, Maine. She said it is not in a flood zone and there was no flood considerations given to it because it is not in a flood zone. And then the last one in this letter is Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. I spoke to the town planner, the flood coordinator, the engineer on it, and I was told that yes, it is in a zone A, so that is a flood zone. It's been there 6 to 7 years old and has never had any water in it, so they have no idea how it would hold up in the event of a flood. So just, for anybody that's, I know numbers are difficult when I'm reading something and you have nothing in front of you. I was given 6 locations. 4 of them are not in a flood zone. The gentleman who did the designs does state that one of those is in a flood zone and it's not. That's a misrepresentation of fact. Again, I ask, who is vetting this? I don't know if the committee that was in force for 2 years was supposed to do their due diligence on this. I don't know who was supposed to do their due diligence on this. But apparently no one checked to see if the designer has actually completed work in a flood zone. And I find that really concerning.
Janice, thanks for your thoughts. I guess my only question would be, do we know why we're having the discrepancies by any chance?
On the two that she mentioned that she said are not, I don't know, no.
Okay, I have names, dates, places. Everyone was called on Friday. I spoke to everyone on Friday as soon as I got your email. So I can give you the names of the town managers, the flood people, the zone officers, everybody, and their phone numbers if you need to verify.
We can touch base later. I mean, obviously,
and then I also ran
we appreciate you doing your due diligence. We want to do our due diligence. I went to the first design meeting, and I know that question was brought up, and it was stated that they had done some.
I asked them twice, and I was told once about 5, and I was told once 6 or 7, but I was never had anything in writing that said where they were, and I couldn't find them. Okay. So that's why once I got something in writing on Friday, I started looking at all of them and found that possibly there are 2 that they were involved with.
Well, thank you for your thoughts. We'll follow up.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Whatever. So, we've talked about a lot of things, insurance and flood zone and all that, and I just want to kind of go back to square one because I'm still new here.
That's
First year. So, you are for or against the skate park?
Actually, the reason we even found out there was a skate park is we were looking into it to try and help, to be honest. Then, when we asked some questions about it, things just were incongruent. So we just started looking into things, and the more things we looked into, the more confusing they got. Okay. So we started attending all the town council meetings and all the skate park committee meetings, and that's how we found out the skate park meetings were never put on the town planning thing. And the more we look into it, the more confusing it is.
And Janice, at some point we're going to have, I'm sorry, I was just going to say, we will have a presentation. There's still, I think the report just came into the committee. I don't know that. I just heard that. I haven't seen it yet. Mm-hmm. But at some point we'll have a
it's just like the one in Salisbury. The park actually goes like this, where the flood zone is, and they took the time to design it to specifically be in the loop so it's not in a flood zone, because a lot of their park is in a flood zone, but a lot of people are taking the time to make sure that there's
I cut you off. Go ahead.
I know. I'll be quick. Just for my clarity. So you're not necessarily against it. You're just
trying to
want clarity of
I want to make
flood and budget and what's going on.
For $500,000. Right. I want to make sure, first of all, that this guy has done work in a flood zone, period. Mm-hmm. I also question the need for it in the town. I don't see kids skating. I don't see anyone on a skateboard anymore.
No, I just want to make sure that I understand exactly where you're coming from.
But we're not doing anything, we're at some point in the future we'll be making some decisions, but
I think everyone should have all the information so they can look at all of follow the facts.
Absolutely.
And if everyone in the town wants one, I'll go to the ribbon cutting.
Perfect.
But if,
We'll have you cut
it's...
Well, thank you so much.
If it's 1% of the population, then that's a different thing. That's all.
All right, we appreciate your thoughts. I want to move along in case there's other people that want to...
Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, Jackie.
Hey, Merry Christmas, everybody. Hope 2018 is a great year for everybody. Glasses, 7 Pateri Place. So I also am speaking about the skate park, and I haven't been doing it as long as anyone else. I'm only maybe a month into it, but you know me, I start making my phone calls, asking questions, things like that. So first of all, and I probably should have called you ahead of time, but again, with the Christmas holiday and Hanukkah and stuff, a lot of things were closed. Was not a permit, but a town-wide notice given out that you were going to engage in this endeavor?
Well, it's been in the works for a couple of years, where
2 years and 2 months, right?
Yeah, where the committee was formed. But I would say, no, there wasn't like a
okay, because
big
I
notice.
called some area places that had skate parks, and I did speak to someone in Pumpton Lakes, and they said in 2009 it was brought up by a particular person on town council that they wanted this. Now I guess it's coming to fruition. And then when I had asked you at the private committee meeting here, Dave, I said, it's up to 7,000 square feet of concrete being put in from the plan. I don't know if the new plan came in yet, Catherine, or not, but that's a lot of, he said 2 to 4 feet would have to be dug out. And now I had asked you, has the DEP been, or the EPA, been notified that this would be done? Because I know when you move dirt, you have to not only do the soil test, but you have to get permits and stuff for that?
Well, it depends on what you're doing. If permits, part of the reason we need a plan is to know what exactly permits might be required before we go apply for them.
Okay. Because I'm just thinking, if someone does a house, you have to get, you have to send to people within 200 for whatever the restrictions is, you have to notify them what you're going to be doing. And I'm sure you have to do this. Well, actually, I know you have to do this because I called the DEP, the EPA, and the Green Acres. And they said that 90 days before this goes on for a vote, this needs to be publicized, like something taken out. I don't know if it's right, Carol, or not, but it has to be made town-wide notice been given. So, I don't know that that's been done. That's why I'm putting it in your laps that you can maybe get back to me at the next meeting. And as you can see, there's...
Are you talking about Green Acres change in use?
That's a different thing. That's the change in use, but that you have to find out first what the plans will be. You have to hold it, department has to have a public hearing, I guess, and you have to do a land use permit to change from the Green Acres because it could be recreational.
Well, it already is, but
right.
We're familiar with the Green Acres process. What are you talking about?
Well, I'm just saying that they told me that 90 days prior you have to put out, not just, you have to put out a public notice. Was that public notice made yet? Or do we do that once we start talking about footing the bill for this before you vote on it?
Yeah, I can't imagine we do it yet because we didn't.
Well, if a Green Acres change in use is needed.
We're not changing the use of Washington Park.
Then we would do it at the time we're going to change the use.
I just want to, well, you know what, my thing is, I'll keep an eagle eye out to know when this is going to be coming up. And just, I'm imploring each and every one of you, living in town and everything else, that everybody's been calling me and saying, can we put this to a town vote? You all are, the 5 of you make the decision. I know Dave's not going to be here next year. Whoever's going to be filling that seat, you never know who it might be. We'll see. But do your due diligence. Like you said, there's so many questions. Every time I turn a page, 5 more questions come up. And I know I bombarded you last time. It was I don't know if I was coming down with a cold or whatever with questions, but I do have a lot of questions. I also have a lot of letters that have been sent to me, and I know that they've been sending them to you. And I hope that you're reading them and considering them before you decide to go with this.
They're getting distributed. I guess my only question, do we happen to know when council might have a presentation.
We haven't even talked about it ourselves.
So it's early.
Right. And the one thing is, I just would like to address is, I don't know if you said this or actually insinuated this, but the skate park advisory was formed in October 2015.
Right.
And everything on our agenda, this is where we conduct business. We don't conduct business on Facebook, and we don't conduct business with individuals, and this is the forum for people to speak.
Yes.
And we've been at this for 2 years, not secretively. All of our meetings are videotaped and recorded in case you can't be here. There's minutes of every one of our meetings. I went back and looked at our minutes since then. I think the skate park advisory presented little tidbits at least 34 times since those times. So, I mean, I'm upset when someone insinuates that we did this in secret. We're not doing this in secret. We've been doing this in public for quite some time, and this is where we do business, right in this room.
And thank you for bringing up the minutes, Catherine, because the most recent one was put up on the Pequannock, and yes, it was on Facebook, but a lot of people don't. I don't watch the paper, and I don't, but it is a factual, it's that recording.
But it's on our website, the official website.
Right.
This is official business. This isn't...
But it was recorded, and parts of it were missing, because someone in the audience recorded the whole entire thing, and someone had asked...
All right, we already looked into that. The clerk is actually handling the video, and it was just
Because when I get the real one, I'll put it on.
Yeah,
and even though
she's
I don't...
taken it over since the manager's assistant left, and there was a human error.
blip?
Yes, it was not
When I find the
removed.
blip, I'll start getting it out there. I
Yeah.
appreciate your time.
But you can check with the clerk. Thank you. Yes, Kyle. And I just wanted to stress before you talk that exactly what Deputy Mayor Winterfield said is true, that, the committee meets and we conduct business here, but we're glad that you're coming to give your input, and you will all know when we are making decisions here at this table. But go ahead.
Hi. Kyle Russell, 6 Walnut Avenue, Pompton Plains. Ms. Winterfield, just to, at the skate park advisory, I was there, and we did ask what ones were in a skate park, and repeatedly we have been told Bar Harbor, Atlantic Beach, Salisbury, and it was a very easy FEMA search to find out that they weren't. So it goes back to, yeah, you can answer all you want, but if they're non-truths, it really doesn't matter.
Well, here's the thing about the advisory. The advisory was put together because council doesn't know anything about skateboarding, to advise us on a design that would be skatable. We don't want to build something that nobody's going to skate, like Pompton Lakes, because things are designed poorly and they're fabricated poorly. So we didn't want to do that. So the advisory had a very small scope to recommend a designer. They didn't decide on the designer. We decided on the designer. Then they were commissioned to come up with a design, which they are in the final stages of. And that's all they basically were doing. They weren't to be the experts in the field. You asking them a question, you were asking of lay people who don't understand that stuff. Our township manager is very qualified to run this project, and he is running this project. If there's any questions, they're to be asked of David Holberg, and not of anybody in that advisory, and honestly of council. David Holberg is running this project.
But you just said that they recommended a designer. How could you recommend a designer who has not completed
Only
a skate
based
park
on
in flood
flow. You can't be upset with them about that. This council is the one who approved that designer. If there's any
But you
issues
just
with that
said you
designer,
recommended, so what did you base your recommendations on?
they based it on how he could design a park that would be skated. The rest was up
But it is
to
in
us.
flood zone, so you think that would be a big part of this. I
There
just have
are
a hard time
Well, those are the
wrapping
things
my
that
head
will come
around.
up when, I don't know if the manager has some
You're
input
talking
into
about skate parks in flood zone by this specific designer. If you go throughout the United States, you will find many parks in flood zones. If you go throughout the world, you'll find them in flood zones all over the place. And there's ways to deal with that. Most of Pequannock, wherever our parks are in flood zones. And especially with the new FEMA maps, a lot more people are going to be in flood zones, including Greenview Park. So we have a lot of issues to deal with. It doesn't mean that you can't move forward with building the infrastructure and a great, robust park program in this town just because it's in a flood zone. That is not a reason to not build a park. There may be a lot of other reasons why you wouldn't build one, but it's not because of flooding.
Well, I think there are a lot of reasons.
Well, I haven't heard one.
Well, we've constantly said about, is the interest there? Well,
that's a whole other topic.
That's a whole other topic.
We keep hopping around on
saying,
topics.
as for the whole skate park, and it's hard when we do go to do our research and our due diligence, and we're finding things that aren't true. So that's what gets us, like, what is going on?
I think at some point, we're going to have to, hopefully soon, have Pillar Design come in, which he's offered to do before, and give a presentation to the council so we can ask our questions, because I'm sure we all have a few.
And I don't mean to harp on this, but we hired somebody who gave us their references.
Right.
Why weren't they checked?
Well, the township manager said he would follow up on that.
We do check references. We don't check every single project that, a company, a firm puts out there on the resume. Our contract is actually with the Engineering, Land and Design, or ELP. They're the firm that we have a contract with. And they gave references to, some of them right here in New Jersey, and we checked some of them, and they, their work is highly recommended. It was...
So we don't have a contract with Pillar Design?
No, Pillar is a partner with EL&P, or E&LP. They're the design specialists working with the New Jersey-based engineers for this project.
So we don't have a contract with Pillar. We only have one with ELP?
Our contract is with EL&P, yes.
And not with the design company. So
No,
then EL&P should have vetted them.
We received, as part of we put out an RFP, request for proposals. We received back a response from EL&P, as well as a response from Pillar, which was included with EL&P's response.
ELP is the one that did the soil test, correct?
I don't know that for
We'll
sure.
have to follow up on that.
It was done under their supervision.
Right. Okay.
All right, we'll follow up on that, Ellen.
Thank you.
Because I don't know. Thank you. Yes.
Bob Sidoti, 85 Mountain Ave. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
I sent everybody out an email. I don't know if you had a chance to read it regarding proposed subdivision on Mountain Avenue. Anybody?
Yeah, I read it.
Okay.
Ran past it every day.
I can read everything we get.
I guess what I'm really here for is to get clarification as to, the law of the way the resolution is written. I know, Mr. Osteich, you've been in contact with my attorney, right, Mr. Sabrini, over it, and it seems that it keeps coming back that, for whatever reason, a sewer lateral connection can't be made to the sewer on Mountain Avenue at that location, even though it's in 100 feet of the trunk. And I believe the rule is, I have the ordinance, I sent it out to everybody, that I believe it's mandated, it's required that if there's a real property, I think it's the way it's worded, within 100 feet, that it must connect within 2 years. So I'm getting a contradiction or as to what the ordinance says and what I'm being told by the engineer's office. So I guess I'm looking for clarification to that.
Does anyone have? Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, the clarification, and we did talk to your attorney about it at some length, is the council put into place this master plan, which identifies that we have a limited amount of sewer treatment capacity. We don't have enough to service the entire town. In order to identify the areas that the capacity would be used for, council adopted master plan 14 years ago. I think it was 2000. 2003.
2004. Not to cut you off, Dave, but, go ahead.
So in doing that, they necessarily kind of said that all the areas that are not identified as getting sewers under that plan, we don't have the capacity to serve them. So over the course of time, over that 14 years, both here and administratively, we have, denied requests from numerous homeowners who would have liked to have been served by sewers just because we don't have capacity.
Right, okay.
I'm sorry, Bob.
Go ahead,
I want to cut you off.
Go ahead.
So just for clarity, there's a sewer system going down Mountain Ave, but you can't connect to it because we don't have enough capacity that we're paying to take care of the sewer that's going. Is that correct?
Normally,
so even though it's there, we can't connect to it
that
because
sewer
we just
line,
don't have enough capacity.
And that one, other ones, were developed by homeowners as kind of building blocks. And that occurred for a number of years, including yours.
I brought the sewer line down 200 feet.
That line,
that connected to your house.
Right. I brought it down, and I provided laterals to the properties as we crossed them as well. Now, having said that, with respect to your master plan and that resolution of 2004, my sewer extension, or that resolution, precedes my extension of the sewer.
But I don't think it precedes your requesting access to it.
Look at the date, Dave.
What about the house? As I'm looking at your house, the one to the right that you redid a couple of years ago.
That's connected. That's connected, because I brought it east. Okay. The sewer was around 225 feet west of my house.
West meaning towards 23 or towards Mountain Avenue?
Towards Mountain Avenue.
Towards West Parkway.
West Parkway.
Okay, and then I brought it down Mountain Avenue, which would be easterly direction, and it terminates now, like on that map that I included in my email. Now, my sewer extension, the resolution you're talking about precedes my sewer extension. So it was approved then by Fred Herman, the engineer, when that resolution was already in place. That's number one. Now, number two, I looked at the master plan. The master plan doesn't, the last master plan and the revision was 1995, I believe.
Actually, we just codified an update about a year ago.
I guess I didn't see a copy of that. But, okay, so you just have a master plan, basically. You look and identify, areas in which you can connect a sewer. Now, the ordinance specifically says a sewer extension. I'm not looking to extend the sewer line. Well, I mean, all I'm looking to do...
We have to address something in our resolution.
I'm not looking to, in fact... Look, I don't want to, this keeps snowballing, but all I'm looking to do is connect to it legally, as per the way the ordinance is written. The ordinance says within 100 feet of the sewer line, you got 2 years to connect. And that's what I'm looking to do. All right, now, prior to me going under contract with the seller over there, like I basically put in the email, the engineer made a deal with Mr. Dello, the seller, indicating that he would put a manhole in the right-of-way during the road widening project. All right, now he was using that, obviously, as a bargaining chip because he had to get a land dedication from him, okay, during the road widening improvements. He was like, yeah, okay, fine, sign on the dotted line, dedicate your land, we'll put a manhole in that right-of-way for you, so that way you can extend into it. In fact, he told him he would, do the infrastructure for water, and gas at the same time. Okay, when I addressed him at it, you can see the emails that I wrote. I mean, it's hard pressed to get an answer out of him, period. I have yet to get an answer because, I'm a little concerned. Okay, I'm going to acquire this property, I'm going to knock it down, I'm going to subdivide it, then I'm going to want to build, and then someone's going to turn around and say to me, you know what, there's going to be a slight moratorium on, construction until we get this road widening effort completed. That's time for me is money, so that's why I'm asking the questions, but I've yet to even get an answer to that.
So is the actual question, so you're buying that property, knocking it down, subdividing it, putting 2 houses up.
Correct.
But now we have twice the amount of capacity as opposed to the original
house. One's already connected.
So that house is connected?
Yeah, the White House is already connected. So when we subdivide that property, you're going to have a west.
So like the garage, where the garage is, everything's right of that?
That's where the sewer line currently goes in now. So once I subdivide it, okay, that eastern lot, would need to be connected, you know? And, you know, I had the engineer at Mr. Golden's request draw it up, and it clearly shows it within 100 feet of the trunk. So, you know, the law says 100 feet, so, but yet he says we can't connect. And then, you know, in the finality of our email conversation, he says we'll take it before the council, or is what I get. You sent to Mr. Sabrini. So it came from Joe Golden via Mr. Osteich.
I mean, what can we do here as a council?
Well, can council do anything?
That's what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, as a suggestion, I say we follow the law. I mean,
we can change the policy.
Well, this is a policy thing. You know, the policy that we have been working with for the better part of 14 years is to not allow, you know, individual sewer extensions outside the priority area.
But it's not a sewer extension. It's connecting to the existing sewer.
So how about this? Can we put the policy on agenda?
It's a big difference, though, Mayor. I mean, it's, you know, it's one is the way the law is written. The other one is
You're just
obviously not.
asking to connect as opposed to running the line.
I'm asking to connect as per the way the ordinance is written. I'm not extending anything. In fact, if Mr. Golden doesn't want to put the manhole in the right-of-way, I'll do it.
And you said in the past we couldn't even do that, have the connection if he's within 100 feet?
No, I didn't say that. I think the councilman had a suggestion, which is if we want to explore the policy, we can explore the policy.
Can we get the policy on the agenda?
It's being interpreted a certain way by administration. If we want to, you know, look at that and find out why it's being interpreted that way, we can certainly.
Because I think this is a great, I mean, listen, if you pay attention, we read it, I ran past your house several times, I physically looked at it so I can understand exactly what you're talking about and how you wrote it down. So I think this is a great situation that we can look at the policy.
I think we need to look at it.
In real world, how does this actually work?
Because it's not just one property.
Right.
It has an impact in other places and with other properties. You're looking at this one now.
Right.
But the next
what does that mean?
Once it's connected, Bob, you know, there's many other places where we can do.
There'll always be another one.
And maybe it's a good thing to do.
Listen, I hear what you're saying, ladies and gentlemen, but it's clear already. If it's within 100 feet of a sewer line, it is mandatory. It's the law. You must connect. That's what it says.
Well, that's what I defer to my lawyer.
Well, Mr. Osteich, is that not?
No,
that's beyond my.
That's what it says.
Correct, and that is a DEP that comes out of a DEP ruling, and it does apply to when we put new sewer systems in, and that's where that time frame comes from. So it is different than what we're talking about.
So
here,
the
but
village,
we need to look at that.
The village just got sewers. They have a certain time frame from when it's okayed that they have to
because
connect.
Sewers
like
are
April
available there now. And
well, that's a new.
But this has been
technically not available there.
Listen, I have a copy of the resolution if you want to read it. I mean, it's clearly.
We'll take a look at it.
I mean, it says, you know, just so for the record, it says that when a public or private sewer system passes within 100 feet from any point of real property served by an individual sewer disposal system, meaning a septic, it says a direct connection shall be made to the public sewer system within 2 years of acceptance.
Well, we're way beyond.
That's it.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
We're way beyond the 2 years of acceptance.
Yeah, we have to discuss it. We have to discuss this. We will discuss it, and I'm glad you brought it up. Well, it's a matter of interpretation.
All right, well, let me ask you this here then.
Look at it.
Like, I'd like I need to, you know, in the springtime, I'm going to be building, you know, and I'm going to have to prepare site plans and whatnot, you know, to submit, and it's either going to show a sewer connection or it's going to show a septic system. Like, I don't really have a whole lot of time, but can you give me an idea of when you can look at it and get back to me?
Is this something we could have prepared for the next agenda? Yeah, we can put it on for the next agenda.
12th?
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking one connection.
Well, we can't handle it by one connection. We have to handle the policy.
Yeah, we have to handle the policy. We can't just do it for you. We have to.
Where would I find your latest update to the master plan?
Well, we're getting ready to redo the master plan, but where is?
Well, the master plan needs to be redone, but the
well, you know, you mentioned that you just did one a year ago. I mean, I found one from 1995.
Yeah. Can we get him?
It's on the website.
Yeah, it is on the website.
I thought it was on the website, but if not, I have a copy in my office. I only have I only have one copy, but
It's
I
on the
can
website. I know
make a
it's
copy
there.
of it for you.
All right, the only one I found on the website was from 1995.
It's hard to find things.
Who will follow up with that? You, Dave, or Carol?
Yeah, you know what? If you don't mind, I'll follow up with you. Dave?
Okay.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Happy New Year. Yes, come on up. And then we're just going to do a few more because we're...
85 Mountain Avenue. I just want to clarify what I think I'm hearing. He has, Bob has the law that basically says you have 2 years to connect, and you're saying at this point you're going to revisit the policy. So it makes me feel like you're looking to change the policy while he has an actual law that's current today. And I feel like then you're manipulating something.
Well, how long has that sewer been in the ground?
The one that we put in, 2004.
Right, so technically you should have hooked up in 2006.
technically we should be finding since then.
Yeah, but this is referring to any newly created lots.
Okay.
So it
That's why I just kind of want to look at it again and digest it and
we're
talk
obviously
about it.
connected.
Yeah.
You know, Delos are connected. Anybody who had to connect did. But by you saying you're going to revisit policy now, we're really not getting a clear date. You'll say you'll do it in January, but you know, I know things can get postponed, and this is a lot of money out of our pocket right now for an if. But right now, as it reads, the law says this is what we're supposed to do, and to change the law based on our request, if that's what I think I'm hearing, is bothersome to me.
Well, that's not what I was looking at doing. I just kind of wanted to see the policy and say, okay, well, if this is in effect, then we need to...
But if you see the policy...
Yeah, but you're taking pieces of the policy, and right now we need to fix it.
It's very clear what we have.
Let Bob... It isn't very clear. That's part of the problem, because the policy would be completely meaningless if every time you just kept creeping further and further with additional connections.
That's not the case. It's not the case because right now, if you're within 100 feet of a sewer in the township of Pequannock, the law says you must connect.
When we do sewer programs and when we put new sewers in, that's why within 2 years
that's not what it
says. The connection.
No.
Well, we can talk about
that's why I said I wanted to take a look at it.
That's what we need to look at, because you're suggesting that applies to every subdivision that takes place, and anytime you have a subdivision, whether we have capacity or not, we need to allow a newly created lot in a subdivision to connect to a sewer system.
But that's really not what we're suggesting. What we're suggesting is you don't have any exclusions in that policy. It says this. It doesn't say unless this occurs or unless we're at capacity.
It says within 2 years.
It says within 2.
However, it will be within 2 years.
Well, it will be within 2 years because it's been in there for far longer than 2 years.
It's much longer than 2 years.
You're creating a new lot. You're saying the 2 years apply.
You're manipulating words.
Right. That's why I want to read
That's why we have to figure it out.
Right. But,
thank you, Will.
Just for the record, though, it says any time the sewer passes by any real property within 100 feet, you have 2 years to connect that specific real property to the sewer line.
Within 100 feet of the property line, of the property with a sanitary sewer system. In other words, a septic tank. And so we'll look at that. But that's what we have to...
So,
I understand.
Again, so I'm understanding. Your position is that once you knock the house down, once you get divided, now you're creating a new piece of property that is within
and he has 2
100
years.
feet of it.
Right.
And based on what you're interpreting, you should have 2 years to connect from when that property gets done.
Exactly.
But the reason for this policy, as Mr. Holbrook had said, is because of capacity issues within the township. And that's why we say within 2 years, because when we do a project, we plan out how much capacity, because it's very limited. And that's the reason why we just can't... I know it's only you, and I know it's only one right now, but if we do this, we set a precedent for other places. If there was to be an area where there was a small, maybe cul-de-sac put in, where there'd be a lot more capacity. So we have to make sure the language is perfect.
You just have to make sure it's right, because if you do it for one, you can't do it.
I totally get it. But again, for the record, there's no land left in Pequannock Township.
You'd be surprised.
I mean, but within 100 feet of a
You'd be surprised where people come.
We will take a look at it, though. Thank you.
Your master plan doesn't doesn't really reference soars or anything. It's very slight where it does. You know, it's more about, you know, your development that's going to go on. And we did find the updates that are for the master plan, but they're not, you know, they're minor things. They're updating small parts of your master plan. Obviously, you don't have a whole new master plan.
And we need that all updated and redone. Yes.
There's 3 pages. So
it references sewers.
It's very outdated. It needs to be done.
It is. But, you know, but we're going by what the law is, you know, so.
Well, we will have to.
We appreciate you.
Look at it and visit.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll get that on for next. All right, in the back. Yes, come on up.
Just happy.
Hi. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Bob Morley, 4 Jacksonville. I just want to talk a little about the skate park thing. I know. Honestly, I don't know whether it's a good or bad idea. I'm not even talking about that. What I am here to talk about is this park started as 200. Now it's 400 plus. It's going to be 500. Reality is probably going to end up being closer to $600,000.
We're still waiting.
I do know. I talked to the designers a little bit. I do know a little bit about site preparation costs. I do know a lot about site preparation in public projects, and I read this report. It's going to be well over $100,000 in site preparation costs. So just beware. What I hope that you do as a board is you make your decision wide-eyed. Don't go in thinking this is a $400,000 project. It's a $600,000 project. Now, why do I care? Do I care? The reason I care is not because it's a $600,000 project. The reason I care, I've been in this town 20 years. Honestly, except for the last 3 months, probably not one person in this room would have known me to run me over the last 20 years. That's the nature of the town. That's fine. Okay. I have a 5-year-old who grows up in this town. In 10 years, 12 years, there may be something that 5-year-old child of mine wants from this town, wants from this board. If in 10, 12 years, we have a $600,000 white elephant of a skate park, and he goes before this board 12 years, and this board says, well, we would like to do it, but we just spent $600,000 for a project that is sitting over here, then, you know, he's not going to get what he needs and what he wants. So I really, really, really hope that you guys do your due diligence when you consider this project. I don't know if it's needed, if it's wanted. The reality is nobody on either side knows if it's going to be used. We'll give you a lot of anecdotal evidence. You can trot in 20 kids who say they'll use it. You can trot in 20 kids who say they'll never come near it. Nobody's asked anybody. Nobody's done any surveys.
So I have a question for you. So you're worried mostly about the site prep rolling out of control?
I know the site prep's going to roll out of control. I can see it in the report.
Let me ask you this. Your day job, is you have, that's what you do for a living or something to do with?
Yes, I'm a civil engineer for the state of New Jersey.
Excellent.
I build bridges. I just helped build down in Lodi, I just helped build by the bridge on 46, there's a flood control. We put the flood control situation in there. I built the building that sits in there that pumps all the water out that goes in and out of there.
So let me ask you this. If we were to move forward with something like this, is this something that you could give us in-kind donations? I mean, leveraging your knowledge. I mean, I'm not a skate park guy. I don't understand the engineering and all that stuff, but to have people that are smarter than you understand and have our towns back to make sure everything is done the correct way, is that realistic?
Well, if you look in the report, they make very good, very necessary and good suggestions in here.
the suggestion he raised about having one of their people or somebody else coming in provide oversight when you're doing the compaction, when you're doing the subgrade, very important. Again, it's money. It's probably, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, but it's $4,000 or $5,000 would have to be well spent. About building the access roads has to be done. All these $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, they start adding up after a while. But this stuff is all necessary. If you're going to build on this, the odd thing, and it's basically because the best soil out there is the soil you guys put out there, which is the soil you guys will be taking out to put the skate park in.
Well, Bob, we appreciate your input, and we're going to look at everything. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. I'm just saying. I know people think I'm here. I'm really not. I don't know enough about skating.
Right.
I don't know enough about skate parks. If it's a great idea, it's a great idea. If it's not, it's not. I don't know. Right. What I do know, I'm an older father. I'm a one-time father. I have a 5-year-old, love of my life. You guys, if you've never seen him, he's the cutest little kid on the planet. I would do anything for this child, and I don't want him to be deprived of anything 10 years down the road because something was done now that I had a chance to stop or to make sure wasn't done.
We're going to look at everything, and we're going to have to look at how much more it's going to cost to build it there as opposed to if they had picked another location. But this is all part of the due diligence.
And as you said, I'm glad if you ask me any questions, I'll be glad to answer any questions. Whatever the case may be.
Yeah, thanks for your expertise.
But I know you guys are tired of hearing about it. I understand. I completely understand. But I felt it was necessary for me to say something. So
thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to take like 2 more, and that's it. Now everybody's hands went up. All right, in the back here. How long have I been?
We're okay.
We're okay?
Okay.
We can let people talk?
Sam Cerisi, Tunis Place. I certainly didn't come here to talk about sewers, but if you look at the history of what's going on down West Parkway, you're going to have a lot of houses that are within 100 feet of that pipe that are going to want to hook up if that's really what the law is. So I'm just telling you. As far as the skate park goes, I think that you're getting a lot of negative input towards it. I think you have a lot of people in town that are afraid to speak out or speak up to be shamed. But whether it's a skate park or a BMX park or a mountain climbing park, I think that anything that we can do to improve our town, I think that's the main point. I don't know if it's in the best location. I don't know if it's big enough. I don't know anything, but I think that the fact that we're looking into something to improve it, not everybody plays softball. Not everybody plays football. So, all right.
I like your idea on a mountain climbing park. Maybe archery.
Why not?
Thank you.
I totally agree.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Ed Sinning, 59 West End Ave. I want to talk about the skateboarding park as well. I know it was initiated by Council Member Winterfield quite a few years ago. At that time, it was estimated to cost $100,000, but due to finance or whatever, it was kind of put to the side. Now it's resurrected again, and it's looking at, this gentleman said $600. I was formerly a contracting officer with the federal government. I know a lot about construction. I'm sure you do as well, as far as getting your design, getting your construction done, getting your change orders, how prices go. 600 actually might be an optimistic number. Who knows? You seem to be a little bit uninformed as to where this thing is really going, or at least you're not sharing much information with us here right now. But you'll be surprised at how, you won't be surprised, you've seen how things go up and up and up. So 600 may not be the number. But in any case, so few people are expressing an interest in this skate park, whereas so many people are expressing a desire to see it not be passed. At the last meeting that I came here to address the skate park, I didn't address it, I was just in the audience. You had two young gentlemen come up and talk about what they have been doing. I guess they're on the advisory committee.
Yeah.
They talked about a survey that they had done. I think it was a total of 16 people. It may not even been that high. It might have been 15 or 13 people expressed an interest in the skate park. 13 people. I find it unconscionable that this council would consider investing $600,000 in something that is going to be enjoyed by so few and is being resisted by so many when there's an unknown amount of money going to be spent for this. I find it unconscionable that it's gone this far, because I personally believe that all of you have made up your mind already as to what you're going to do.
I take offense to that.
I'm
sorry. There's a couple of things that you're saying that are incorrect. I've only been up here a year.
You tell me one thing I've said so far.
I've only been here for a year, and I have to tell you, this is my first stint in government stuff. So I don't know much when it comes to that. But I have to tell you that there has never been a situation that I've been involved with this last year that anything has spun out of control. I think David's done an incredible job on all the projects that he's doing, from sewer to the tower to everything is very, very controlled, and they do a great job of it. Number two, that you're accusing us of not providing out all the correct information. There's been many a times that we've had many conversations with anybody that comes in front of the board or outside or going to Dave's office. You're free to understand and ask any question you want, Oprah, do whatever you have. There's nothing that we're hiding. There's nothing that we'll ever hide. There's no reason to hide anything. Whether or not this town wants a skate park, that's what we're talking about. And the skate park could be X, but that's what we're talking about. Well, I'll tell you what, 80% of the people that are writing me in my PEQ mailbox are for the skate park. 80% of the emails.
Facebook?
Facebook is
I don't
not...
look at Facebook. Facebook is hearsay.
All right, we don't want to go back and forth here and deliberate that.
The point is,
Facebook
let me just...
Mayor, again, the point is this. I have no problem having to debate. That's what I want to talk about. That's what I want to see. I want to see both sides. That's why I asked the question, are you for or against it? And I don't want the minutia. I want to know exactly why, cost or flood zone, so I can understand it, so I can make an informed decision on it. But I need everybody to come out and do it. And I don't care if we're here all night. I'm sure they will, but so we can make an informed decision for the town. That's why we're doing this. Not for our own selves. We're doing it for the town.
Did you ever, you have conducted a survey as to how many people would be interested. Do you think 13 or 14 people, an interest by that?
I don't know where you get 13 or 14 people, because I know just from Parks and Rec doing the skate, what was it, Kathy?
The lessons.
The skate lessons, they had way more than that. And they were paying a good amount of money. That wasn't like 20 bucks.
I don't think a formal survey was ever done.
Is that pretty much what the premise is?
Why would you do that?
Well, that's how it seems to me.
That might be your perception, but we put $210,000 into brand new swim lanes that you can only swim when you're a member of the swim team, the Piranha team. I'm a member of PV Park. I'm also an Ironman. I can't even use it for swimming. So how is that? But I still think it's good for the kids. I like the ball fields. We have new ball fields coming up, so this way they can play on that.
I think what's going to happen...
All right, well, great. So let's get a Starbucks in town, because they've expressed an interest in having a coffee shop. There's a lot of things that we can do that benefit the kids.
Well, as long as I understand what your position is, that kind of solidifies my
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All I was going to say is...
lastly, I find it... The mayor talked before about how the library was expanded due to the donations. I find it amazing that something such as a library, used by so many people, and it does so good to society, relied upon donations to get a needed expansion, whereas a skate park is going to be used by so few. We're willingly
We haven't made that decision yet. When it comes down to it, and we get the number, and we ask our questions, it could be that we say, we'll put this much if you bring this much. We haven't made any of those decisions yet, at least I haven't.
All right, I just needed to express my thoughts.
Thank you.
Yes, Steve.
Good afternoon, everyone.
afternoon.
Steve Mangieri, 17 Foothills Drive. Mr. Hurd, I agree with you 100%.
Steve, how are you doing?
I'm well, thank you, sir. We need due diligence on this project.
Absolutely.
In the RFP, from the Pequannock Township Skate Park Advisory Committee, the minutes, 6/18/16. All right? List of the things for the requests for the proposal. Meet a minimum amount of years of experience, must have regional experience, and a list of completed projects and a 100-year floodplain. We're given names. We're finding out that's not happening. Who's in charge of the due diligence? Who's in charge of actually saying this is being done? There's all this talk about due diligence. There is, again, a ton of anecdotal information. These people want it, these people don't want it. We have no hard numbers of who wants it and who doesn't want it. It's all completely anecdotal evidence. The Parks and Rec at the last skate park lessons, there was 13 kids. I believe that's probably what this gentleman is speaking.
There was 3 times that they had the lessons, right?
Okay, so 13 times 3, I think 13 was the largest amount that they had. Who's doing the due diligence on the project to say, this is what's happening?
We need to get a project with numbers first so we can then do the due diligence. Let me ask you this.
We don't have the numbers.
Yes.
Let's start. Are you for or against the skate park?
I actually went into this. You know I'm a business owner.
Absolutely.
And we sponsor a lot of town organizations. We donate to Boys and Girls Club, we donate to Boy Scouts, we donate to Girl Scouts. I actually went into this looking to say, hey, maybe this is something that we can get behind and get into. As we got into this, and the more that we found out about it, and the different stories that we heard, and the different information that we weren't able to get, the meetings that are not on the town website posted, everybody says, come to the meetings, you'll get all the information. We go to the meetings aren't posted, okay? To get the basic information of the meeting minutes, you would think in a small town like this with a small committee, they would say, okay, here's all the information. Excuse me. We had to file an Oprah request with Ms. Marsh here to get the meeting minutes.
I believe everything is posted now, correct?
Yeah. Did we post everything now?
We're talking about I believe
the
according
committee.
That's
The
the committee,
park,
right.
They're talking about the skateboard park committee minutes.
Right.
And I guess somebody's asking.
I don't remember whether there was no.
I don't know if they go on the website. I don't think they're on the website.
3, 4, 5 meetings ago, we talked about this where we provided all the minutes from all the previous meetings, correct?
Yeah. Correct.
Okay.
We have
the minutes aren't even required.
But again, we
on the advisory committee.
Here you go. You know, we went through the signatures on the petitions. 90% of the petition signatures are irrelevant.
So let me ask you this. Again, back to square one. What is the top concern of the skate park? Is it that the use? Is it the money? Is it the flood zone? What is the reason?
It's all of them.
Is that the main one? So flood?
There's no spearhead of seeing, have they designed the projects in the floodplain? Do they last? What happens when these things get wet and freeze?
So is flooding the number one concern, or is money the number one
concern?
concern?
There's many number one. There's a lot of concerns with this that nobody seems to be giving the concrete answers, and it doesn't, in my opinion, the skate park committee has no other concern with this than, all right, we're putting it here and this is what we want.
Well, that's why I'm trying to get clarity from everybody that's coming up. So I know it's flood, it's money.
Yes.
What
else? It's usage.
How many people are going to use it?
Is it worth the tax dollars for the amount of people who are going to use it? Is it viable to put? You're talking about moving a minimum of 600 cubic yards of soil. Right? 600 cubic yards of soil is 13 30-yard dumpsters. Of removing 600 cubic yards of soil, taking that out and replacing it. I mean, Mr. Morley had addressed this situation several times. I was at skate park meetings where he's addressed these issues, and people give him a hard time. And he's standing there, and he's like, well, wait a minute, I'm trying to figure this out. Maybe I can help you with this. Maybe I can work with it. Nobody seems to be giving clear answers on any of this, and I can't imagine that we're going to move forward with anything.
Well, we can't move forward until we have a presentation on it.
I'm sorry, Mayor.
Go ahead.
I don't want to beat something to death here, but just for clarity, again, the main concerns, flood, money, and use.
Correct.
Okay. So if...
Can it be built somewhere else for less money?
Right. Can it be built somewhere else? How many people are going to use it? What in your mind is the go, no-go for, let's say, money? If it was $600,000, obviously you were against it. What if it was 500,000, 200,000, 100,000? What's
You know what, right now, I couldn't give you a hard answer on that. I never, I don't have an issue with that. I think if how many kids play baseball? Well,
we have about 450 kids a year that play
450
baseball.
kids who play baseball.
We have about the same that play soccer.
Every year to play baseball. How many of those kids every year pay a fee to play football, soccer, the whole bit? This is going to be a free park. Okay, there's all talk back and forth of registrations, non-registration. There's so many issues.
I don't think we decided that yet either.
There's so many issues with this park that nobody's looking into.
Well, how many people would play softball or baseball if we didn't have any fields?
Okay, how much money did Little League raise to build all of that stuff, and then it went to the town?
And how much did the town spend?
Right, exactly. How much? How much did Little League spend? How much did
the town spends about $1.5 million a year on all recreation.
Okay.
And we move that around each year, and we try to keep a robust park program here.
What I'm saying is...
And Little League gives a very small portion of that.
Many questions that stand before this park that nobody has answers to, that I can't see, that we're going to say, oh yeah, we're going to put $500,000 in there. And then we're going to go, oh wait, this didn't happen or that didn't.
I think
we're talking about in-kind donations to bring dirt in.
Steve, I think we have asked those questions and we're waiting for a presentation. That's where I stand. I've asked, the same questions. Other council members have asked the same questions. We are waiting.
The presentation
I don't know.
be before the vote for the budget?
Oh, absolutely. We definitely need to get the presentation so we can understand what.
Yeah, we can't make a decision in the budget until we have all our information.
When that presentation would be scheduled for?
I don't know. I asked before. Do we have any idea?
No, we don't.
No, we don't.
I presume it's on us. We would have.
I thought it was going to be December, so maybe it's January.
Okay, and again, I'm just saying, there's so many questions being asked on this, on both sides, and there's very little due diligence being done. It says...
Well, let's hope it's being done. We're just waiting for it to get...
Well, you say they're being done, but people who are really in the weeds on this aren't seeing the due diligence being performed that really needs to be performed before the town should spend this type of money.
Well, we'll make sure we get that. And again, that committee was just there for the design part, so we're going to have to talk to...
So who would be responsible for figuring out all the other stuff?
I guess it would be engineering and the town manager's office. Go ahead.
Yeah, it depends on the issue.
It depends on that particular issue.
I think the
and we might need
preparation is a huge issue.
Right, and we might need another scope.
Which is part of budget. I mean, council's been waiting on designs so they can take the next steps in terms of, making decisions about, budget or move forward or not.
And quite frankly, for cutting it up like this, how much is it going to cost? What does that mean? What about site preparation? What can bite us in the butt? What can go out of control? Yes, but until I have something in front of me, which is a design and numbers, I can't even start asking those kind of questions.
Well, I think we need to ask those questions before we get to that point, because
we're not even ready to vote.
Yeah, I guess.
How do you vote on something you don't have you're going to have a number? Okay, it's going to be 500,000. Yes or no? Well, wait a minute. Is it worth that?
Well, we can't. Yeah, it's not going to go yes or no. It's going to be
all right.
It's going to cost this.
If nobody's doing the due diligence of figuring this all out, nobody's going to have the information to make a proper decision.
That's why we have you, Steve.
Steve, at some point, if it's not being done already, all these things need to be addressed.
Absolutely.
Can this increase the price? Can this increase the price? Can this change this? And we're going to have to address all that. And it might be another group or committee that we're going to have to appoint to change the scope of what.
Well, not change the scope, but
we're not doing the scope.
You have to
not the scope,
right? What the scope is going to be a different scope,
right? Different, yeah.
Well, I would love to be a part of that committee. If there is an extension,
I really doubt there'll be another committee.
I would love to be part of that committee.
Right. I don't know if there will be, but thank you. Yes, Sharon.
I'm used to saying good evening, but good afternoon, Council. Sharon Taylor, 19 Libby Avenue, Pompton Plains section of Pequannock Township. zip code 07444. That's nice, a little laughing in here, right? I just had a few questions, actually. One of my questions is, I heard through some of the responses earlier, what is the law, Mr. Uzdike, of recording town council meetings and separate meetings outside of the town council regarding something with the township?
Well, the town council is covered by the Open Public Meetings Act, and part of one of the things the Open Public Meetings Act requires is that the township council have minutes, and those minutes be available, and the township clerk, in our case, is here, recording and taking minutes, and will publish those minutes. The Open Public Meetings Act, though, doesn't apply to all of our advisory committees. It applies to the council. It applies to committees that actually are empowered to spend township money or make decisions that involve private property. So it does not automatically apply to all of our committees and subcommittees. And I think that's where that question was coming. So the Skate Park Committee was one of those advisory committees that, while the state law didn't require they keep minutes, they have historically done that and gotten them to the township clerk, and they're doing that above and beyond the requirements.
Okay.
So it would be wrong to say they were doing anything wrong.
Okay, so someone from just like the township coming to a meeting, can they use their cell phones to record people's conversations?
To a public meeting, as here, there have been cases where people have wanted to videotape or record, and they may do that.
Okay.
Preventing that is something we cannot do. Subcommittee meetings, they probably have a little bit more leeway to prevent that kind of, establish rules preventing that kind of thing, but I don't think we've done that here. To the best of my knowledge, we haven't.
No, but it has happened in advisories.
Okay. And do we have no established rules on that? Those people do not have to, they don't ask permission from the association or other meetings? Hey,
I'm not aware of
established rules. So
I would think you'd have to let the committee know.
You'd let the committee, you would, well, yeah.
Ask them.
I think that's probably.
Well, that's not what happened.
Okay.
So would that be?
So that can't be publicized then? Legally, what happens if someone starts publicizing? They don't get permission from somebody just really talking within a association meeting?
I don't know.
So, Bob, is that a policy?
I'd have to look at that.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, is if we've advertised the committee is open to the public, then you have to expect that anything there is public information. People do what people do, and that's, we didn't have to make those kind of committees open to the, but we have, and they are open to the public. So I think it's hard to say you can't record those. The committee could certainly start establishing some rules, but I don't think that they have, and I don't think I'd recommend that they do that at this point.
Okay. Can you just clarify how many parks are in a flood zone now, or what would be considered flood zone?
In town?
In town.
With all the pocket parks?
I don't have a number.
So it's like Greenview Park, is the whole park considered flood zone if it goes through? Would Washington Park, is the whole park considered?
Portions of many of our parks are in the floodplain.
Okay. But something like Washington Park, is it the entire park that's considered a flood zone, or is it just a portion of it?
A portion.
I think a good portion of the bike path going through that's going to be paved for 4.8 miles is in a flood zone. A good portion of that.
Parks, we have some pocket parks that are in it. Right?
Although the bike path, I think, is...
No, that's only one section, though. It's going to be paved.
I mean, the vast majority of our parkland is in the floodplain. The exception of Mountainside Park, I think probably all of our parks have some portion.
So pretty much if everything becomes flood...
Well, let's not hope of that, obviously.
Yeah.
Well,
let's hope that's not...
we always look at what is community, what's the meaning of our community, right? So we're putting in, we have baseball fields, football fields, track. Whether people are against the skateboard park or not, in the future, there are going to be other interests. So if we don't support those interests, we might as well just not have parks anymore, right? Just knock everything down, put houses up, and hey, everybody live their life. So it's just, we're looking at different outlets for kids, good community, something for everybody. We're not looking for, something huge to be built either. So, and for 2018, I come to these meetings, you want to support everything for everybody. I look at It's not just one person's child, it's everybody's person's child, it's everybody's. So we have our social responsibility as adults to take care of children in this community, not just theirs, not just one. Lastly, I just want to let, David and the council know that, the DPW, police department, and everybody did a phenomenal job this year. Municipal building, we had a nice, safe year, right? So I hope everybody has a great 2018 and all the best.
Thank you.
Great, Sharon. Thank you so much. Anyone else? Yes, come on up.
Kevin Shenton, 16 White Birch Ave, Pompton Plains. I just had a quick question on the proposed FEMA flood maps. So I got the letter, I'm impacted, but I haven't heard anything further. I think there was some discussion that the town is spending some dollars perhaps to fight the proposed maps. When we talk about the skateboard park, and I know it's money that's being tossed around, we don't have any hard numbers yet, but spending, if it ends up being $500,000 of taxpayer money, what are we doing for the 200 plus residents that may be impacted by that?
But we don't fight the maps, we just fight the data.
No, I know that.
Okay.
But
And we're working on it. I mean, we've already hired the hydrologist who the town's working with. The recommendation, correct me if I'm wrong, was that there's nothing really for the residents to do yet that are affected. The town has to do their due diligence first with collecting their data, and then
David, if you could really
we're in
explain
the appeal
process.
So our town manager will explain it to you.
Yeah, because I don't want to get the bill like, hey, when I got to sign up for flood insurance as of this date, when I don't know what the
some
facts
people
are
are
about
being
what's happening there.
encouraged to do elevation.
No, let David explain it, because it's complicated.
Joe Golden,
The
about
township
your
manager.
property? Okay. And starting next week, we will have a municipal flood advocate working for us too. So I would encourage you to go talk to, Jen McCullough is her name, either Jen or Joe, about your property specifically, because they can give you some more detailed information depending on what the elevation of your first floor is. In general, the new maps were issued, the proposed maps, which change pretty significantly the outer limit of the 100-year floodplain associated with the east and west ditches was what's impacting you.
Yeah, I know that. I've lived in town my whole life. I've lived in my residence for 10 years, lived through Sandy. I have a full finished basement.
Anyone that was near the waterways.
Not a drop of water, so I know
we
quite
know
hard pressed,
historically that the maps don't accurately reflect what occurs in a flood. But the trick is to get the data to actually be able to prove to FEMA that's
my point, Kathy, is that you said they're not fighting it. I get that, but it costs time and money, right, to hire the right people to fight the stats that they're coming around the east ditch and those kinds of things.
It's our experts against their experts.
Yeah, and my thing is, when I only came today because I've been reading a lot on the social media about the skateboard park, and I was out of I wasn't going to get involved. You want to build a skateboard park, build a skateboard park if it's properly funded by the people that want that skateboard park, and the town can contribute some funds if they would like. I think that's where I'm coming at. My thing, where I got involved was, we're going to spend $500,000 perhaps on a skateboard park when 200 plus residents are now in a new proposed flood zone, and that's going to kill property values and my property taxes. When I come to the town and say, reassess my property value, because I'm at $440K, and on my 3-bedroom house I want to be assessed to the same value of something in a floodplain somewhere else in town.
Right, but we could spend $2 million and it wouldn't matter, because it doesn't matter about the money to fight it. We're fighting it with what the experts will say. Honestly, when we're done, by bringing this up and not accepting what they have, we could have more people. We could be proven wrong, and we could wind up with more people in the flood. So, this is...
would have, could have, should have, I get that, but I don't want to say that we're not going to do something because
we have
might
to
end
see
up
how we're going to end.
Well, it very well could happen. We wind up worse than we are. I live in the Glens, and we're in it. And our engineer, we hired our own engineer, and we very much will be worse off probably after we bring all this up.
And I understand that. And I missed the meeting. I was on vacation the first time. I guess FEMA representatives came. We could tell them where we lived. They next steps.
There was a public meeting.
Is there any information available somewhere for us if we want to do the surveys, the land surveys, the elevation surveys on our own at this point? Because, like I said, the evidence supports it. I shouldn't be in a flood.
It's on the website.
And
which website?
The township website. Yeah, we have a whole, there's series of pages under flooding that will give you that kind of information. We encourage you to get an elevation certificate because that will help you regardless of...
Well, the town, where I'm going with this is the town wants to spend money in skateboard park. Is the town going to help me on my own elevation survey? It's going to cost me probably $2,000, right, to do the elevation survey. That's the kind of... We're spending money in awkward
No,
places.
it's a couple $100, and I don't think we can recommend a survey.
No, but what we did go out was we got proposals from surveyors to get group pricing. So you should be able to get discounted.
Yeah. So just for my benefit, just timing as far as the town and their elevation surveys. Is that something that we're talking a year off, a year and a half off?
Oh, no, you'll call.
No, not for me.
No, he wants to know about the FEMA process. I think it's a year.
More than a year. Selfishly, I had plans to knock my house down and rebuild. As everything in town seems to be going that direction, and I've placed that on hold. I'm not going to build what may end up being a $800,000-$900,000 home in town to find out that it's in a floodplain.
When will it be done, David?
I'm going to be carrying flood insurance.
Yeah, I know the appeal process is going on now or starting.
Well, actually, yeah, the official appeal period hasn't even opened yet.
January.
We've got our expert in place, and we've gotten the data that he needs to kind of review. As soon as we get the formal letter for the appeal period being open, which should be middle of January, we will appeal. I mean, we're on that road to do that. So as soon as that period's open, we'll do it. The time frame is hard to tell. It really depends on how many towns in Morris County appeal and how much time FEMA spends.
This gets done on a multiple town basis?
It does. It's done by the county. Passaic County already went through their appeal process. Some towns were successful and some weren't.
Yeah, FEMA rolls out their maps by county, so there are like 8 towns in Morris County that are impacted by changes to the new firms. Okay. So we don't know how many are going to appeal. We know that Lincoln Park will because they have the same issues that we do, but others like Parsippany and Hanover may also. So.
But I guess we can't say whether it's going to be 3-month answer, 6-month answer, a year answer. We don't know, unfortunately.
Yeah, realistically, it's not going to be before 6 months. So maybe 8.
The funds that cover that are grouped with the other townships together. We have budget dollars that are allocated to this right now.
Yeah,
do the surveys.
Yes.
And that
not the surveys, to do the appeal, do the technical data, the technical review, so we can appeal.
Okay. And the cost of that is?
Well, so far the cost of the professional that we hired, Joe Scooping, is $25,000.
And if we had allocated $50,000 or $100,000, we wouldn't gotten anything more. That's what the going price is.
That's what my point was, to kind of get informed, right? Because you hear a lot of stuff on the social media that's going around and now taken. You can't.
Kevin, I have a question for you.
No.
So you received the letter from us?
I was on township letterhead. It told me that I was being informed that I was going to be put perhaps in a new proposed.
The township informed every resident. We talked about that at a previous meeting. That
I'm getting at. Did you ever get anything from FEMA?
No.
That's what I mean. So FEMA redoes their maps, and they're adding 200 and some odd properties.
But again,
into
because
it,
it's preliminary and because we're in the appeal process,
but
that's why they
want us to change our
anyone.
building codes to build up to that, and it's not even approved yet.
Well, you're talking federal government.
We're talking FEMA.
Where I'm coming at, as a property owner in the town, right?
Absolutely.
If I wanted to move forward with, I had Mr. Cotillo and town draw my plans. I'm about to submit to the town to get permits, and I've held off on that, right? Because if I submit, you approve my plans, FEMA comes back with the floodplain and says that's going in.
I know.
Are you going to come to me and say, hey, Kevin, now you need to spend XYZ number of dollars to do this to your home? You have to have this kind of drainage. You have to take care of this. That could very well happen. And so, just hold on. I've got all the facts.
I would encourage you to talk to, again, either Joe Golden or even Bob Grant. They're both certified floodplain managers and can kind of help you through that process to advise you, depending on your house's situation, what the, best path forward is.
Go visit them over on the Alexander Ave.
The number was eye-opening, because I think there's a lot that's going around in town around, especially people like myself who are impacted, that the town is not going to be doing enough for.
We're doing as much as possible.
We're going to do everything we can.
Spending money in places like perhaps a skate.
It's not one.
That is a priority.
Right.
This is not one for the other.
Right.
This is not one. We're not choosing one over the other.
The amount of money that was being spent.
Right.
Versus something else.
We couldn't spend more money on it. This is the only process.
That was the only.
There's nobody better if we spend 100,000. There's not a better expert for 100,000.
And for the record, I know you've been asking like whether people are. I'm here. I might as well give you my 2 cents. I skated as a kid. I've grown up in this town. I was here when the BMX track was here. I rode it for a hot minute, like every other kid probably in this town that wants a skateboard park. Skated anywhere you could. A house under construction, I'd be in it skating at.
Not in our town.
Don't make your confessions on tape.
But to spend the money, now that I'm older, I'm a town, taxpayer or whatnot, to spend taxpayer money on something of that magnitude and that amount of money I know you still have the due diligence to do, seems a little bit outrageous. There's a lot of other things, and Kathy, you just said, flooding, sewers. There's a big thing about declining enrollment in town in our education, right? Where can the taxpayer dollars really go that really benefits the kids? Is that the right thing? Just a few kids, if it's 16, 30, 100 kids, I don't know how many kids come from out of town. My kids are in a whole bunch of alternative sports. Like any other parent, you drive them where they need to go. You take them to get them the activity that they want. I just think that there's a lot of other things that this town could do with the money, predominantly with the schools and the education as well. So.
Well, we appreciate your thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we good to move along? Anyone else?
We close session.
We do? Okay. All right. So if there's no other items there, we are going to go into closed session. We have one thing.
We have one item, litigation tax appeal.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to move into closed session.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye.